What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. If you follow my channel, my Monday mail days, and just my channel videos in general, you know I've always been high up on Errol Spence Jr. And if you're a skill fighter, you have a lot of potential. I see you having a high ceiling. I always do my best to try to promote those fighters, the Roman Gonzalez's, Vasyl Lomachenko's, Errol Spence, the people who I think have next that don't necessarily always get the limelight and people talking about them. I just watched Errol Spence Jr. versus Phil LaGreco, and I'm going to give my post-fight mixed with some other topics regarding Errol Spence Jr. Now, I thought he looked phenomenal. If you look at the first round, I think Phil LaGreco was game. He was coming in kind of wild. He was kind of slapping with his punches, but he didn't do bad for himself. And you got to keep in mind, Phil LaGreco is a guy who went the distance with Shawn Porter, another guy who's known for power, known for being strong at welterweight. Now, one could argue, you could say, oh, when Shawn Porter fought LaGreco, he knew he was fighting him, so he had more time to prepare. Fair enough. I get that. That makes sense. However, just from even what I've seen there, and it's not out of the question to get last minute notification of a fight and still win. Case in point, Terrence Crawford had 2 weeks to prepare for Bradis Prescott, who was far more accomplished than Terrence Crawford. He had knocked Amir Khan out, had shared the ring with Mike Alvarado, and almost beat Mike Alvarado when he was undefeated. And he had fought better competition, in my opinion. I think he fought Lucas Matisse in the amateurs. He got knocked out, but he still fought him. So he had experience, and Terrence Crawford did the damn thing and beat Bradis Prescott. Easy work, and that was a new division. Crawford was fighting at 135. He moved it up for 140 to 140 at that point, just for the opportunity with only 2 weeks to prepare. Fact of the matter is, some people are going to beat around the bush and say, oh, Phil LaGreco. I get it. He didn't have much time to train, but based on what I've seen and what I've seen from both of them in the past, he wouldn't have beat. He could have had a year to train or know about the fight. He still wouldn't have beat Errol Spence Jr. His first round was obviously his best round. And the thing I like about Errol Spence Jr. is he's like the kid in class where, let's say there's a bully or someone talking shit to him, and the kid's just quiet. And he lets the bully say whatever he wants, and he's just kind of low key. And then the bully actually touches him, and then the bully gets knocked out or embarrassed and, you know what I mean, dropped for picking on the silent kid. That's what Errol Spence Jr. in terms of his demeanor. He seemed very low key. Kind of, it's weird, man, when I see these guys like Errol Spence Jr. and Gennady Golovkin outside the ring. They look real humble, real chill, real low key, like to have a good time, and that's it. Then they step foot in the ring, lace them up, and they're killers. And that's what I like about him. I think Errol Spence Jr. is a silent killer type. He's not real boisterous. Like Adrian Broner talked all this shit about what he's gonna do, Shawn Porter, and not shake his hand, and he could fight his daddy too, and all this stuff like that. And his performance to me was a dud. Now, again, I'm not weighing heavily solely based on that. That's the difference between me and a lot of other people that analyze boxing. When I analyze boxing, I look at the grand scheme of things. I'm not just basing this off of Phil LaGreco. I've told you this even before this fight, that Errol Spence was a person to watch for. So it's not just this particular fight. I just have continued to like what I'm seeing from him, and I want to see him keep stepping up. And I think he's ready now. I answered this question on a Monday mail day. He's ready now for the bigger names. Like, there's guys right now, Victor Ortiz, Andre Berto, Josecito Lopez. There's a ton of guys where, without a doubt in my mind, I would pick Errol Spence Jr. to beat them right now. And that's no disrespect to them. They've accomplished more as a pro than he has, but I would never pick them over Errol Spence Jr. And then you have other fights, which I'm going to get to talking about. But back to the LaGreco fight real quick. Round one, he was kind of sloppy. I'm talking about LaGreco, but he wasn't discouraged. He was still coming forward. He was headbutting a bit, and Earl stayed composed during this whole time. He wasn't getting off like he wanted, but I liked the transition and then the adjustment he made in the second round. Phil LaGreco was coming in wild, didn't care if his head was hitting him, and kind of reckless, kind of like some of the old Timothy Bradley. It's just guys so rugged that they come in like slap punching and like head might clash and stuff like that. So that's kind of how Phil LaGreco did in round one. But the adjustment that Errol Spence Jr. did, and I told you this in the training leading up to when I thought he was fighting Robert Garcia, is he's an abusive body puncher. And that's exactly what you need to do. You have to give the person a reason to stop coming forward. Like you look at the main event on that card, Broner versus Porter. Porter was doing a similar style because that's his style, kind of wild. It might not look pretty, but he's going to just throw a bunch of punches. Andre Berto versus Guerrero comes to mind. Not necessarily the cleanest work, but it's working and it's effective. You have to find a way to stop that and discourage those people from coming forward. A jab, that's what Errol Spence Jr. Body shots, basic boxing fundamentals will stop all of that, especially if you have some pop, if you have power. You know what I mean? And that's what he did. He started just taxing his body in a horrific fashion and chopping down the tree. And he was badly hurt in round 2, and then he picked up where things left off in round 2 and got the stoppage in round 3. So I like what I've seen. But just to clear the air, because again, some people are like, oh, you can't give him credit. GRECO had no time to train. Here's a backstory. GRECO was training with Jesse Vargas, preparing him for Timothy Bradley. So it's not like this guy was off of the couch and he just got a call like, hey, we need you, because Roberto Garcia pulled out of the fight. So he was active. And again, if you feel so confident in Phil GRECO that things would be different, as a fan, write letters, request that there's a rematch, and give GRECO time to properly prepare, and then we can bet money that the outcome will be the same. It's a different skill set. So I don't know anyone who wants to take that bet, but if that's what you want to do, then request a rematch, give GRECO time to prepare, and pray, because he's not beating Spence just based on the skill level separation. And this is also a guy with amateur experience, and we've seen the outcome, so nobody really needs to see a rematch in this fight. And I don't think it was merely because he didn't have time to prepare. I just think he's not the better of the two fighters. And he was, like I said, he was already active with Jesse Vargas, so it's not like he was not out of shape and had a day to like kill himself and drain himself to make weight. He was actively training, if you will. Now, the other thing is Errol Spence Jr. has been mentioned by Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather plays games with the media, and for the life of me, I cannot understand why some of you guys continually fall for it. Like, it's like you hate him so much, you actually believe some of the stuff that he says. Now, if he wants to fight Berto or Mayfield, that's his prerogative. But, I mean, Floyd Mayweather is the type of person where he manipulates and plays, like, mind games and stuff. So I wouldn't go off of that, me personally. You know what I mean? Because he always tries to throw these curveballs and stuff when you think he's going to throw a fastball. Like, oh, Devin Alexander, he's a leading candidate. And then he fought Guerrero. Then he didn't sign the paperwork for Canelo. And people are like, oh, he's a pussy, he's a bitch, he's ducking Canelo. And then he fought him right after Guerrero, which is what Canelo wanted in the meantime. So Canelo, meanwhile, stomped off, pouted, and pulled himself in his Austin Trout fight off of the undercard of Mayweather, because they're like, oh, he won't sign the paperwork, I'm not fighting him. So fast forward to the future. Mayweather saying Kareem, Mayfield, and Berto. Believe that if you want. I don't know. I know Mayfield. Shout out to the Bay. Shout out to San Francisco. I don't know what Mayweather's going to decide, but he has made the suggestion, the video's floating around on the internet, that he wants for his undercard Errol Spence Jr. versus Keith Thurman or Shawn Porter. Now, regardless of who Mayweather fights, that is money right there. That's a great fight, and that just goes to show you that he feels confident in his fighter. I don't even know the relationship. I know they were cool, and I know Errol Spence, they said he gave Mayweather some challenges and sparring and stuff. But I don't know if he's signed to Mayweather or what. Maybe it's just because they're both Al Heyman fighters. But he's really been promoting Al Heyman in this PBC build-up and stuff. And to be honest, Errol Spence Jr., like I said, he's ready now. I would love to see him fight Keith Thurman. If Keith Thurman gets past Collazo, easy work and no problems in that particular fight and wins as I think he should, I would love to see that. Shawn Porter, same thing. And to me, this is just my opinion. Shawn Porter's performance did not exceed Marcos Maidana's, just like I kind of predicted. And I don't think, and at the time, Broner was a champion, so Maidana was a champion, so that was easier to segue into the Mayweather fight. I don't really see the Shawn Porter performance being as so complete that it will catapult him into a Mayweather payday. So why not fight a guy like Errol Spence Jr.? It's a lot of exposure, publicity, and that's a good fight. So ultimately, I want to see Errol Spence Jr. step up and fight a big name next. Roberto Garcia was supposed to be that dude, but he's had his opportunities. Let's move on. and see him in there with somebody. If it's not Keith Thurman or Shawn Porter, there's other guys that I would like to see him fight. Let me know what you guys think of Errol Spence Jr. I do think he's one of the future stars of the sport. Very composed, very relaxed, and the difference that I notice is he looks like shockingly comfortable. Like he was in the pocket with Phil LaGreco, and he just looks so at home. It was crazy. Like, but you look at other guys who have silver medals, like an Amir Khan and tons of experience. On the inside, Amir Khan doesn't look as comfortable. Even getting his feathers ruffled versus a guy like Chris Algieri with no punching power. You know what I'm saying? So I like how comfortable Errol Spence Jr. looked in pocket. You know what I mean? And he shows a lot for his young age. He shows a lot of veteran type of moves. Like, I got to slow this guy down. He's real messy and ugly. So he started jabbing. He started chopping down the tree and going to the body, which ultimately set him up for the TKO in the 3rd round. So I like what I'm seeing, and I've continued to like what I'm seeing from Errol Spence Jr. Drop me a comment. I do think he's one of the future stars. I will keep you guys updated on his next fight. But I would love to see him on the Mayweather undercard versus a big name. I think it'll help sell that card, whoever Mayweather decides he wants to fight. Let me know what you think of Spence Jr. Make sure you like my video. Shout out to Texas. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.